Going live.
Ooh, the
Hey, everybody. Who can see us? This is Sally Ember. Please don't call me Sally Sue. That's just a problem between me and Google. My name is Sally Ember. I am an author, an educator, a nonprofit manager. I am thrilled to start this new Changes Hangout on Air for Google Plus that will be on YouTube forever. So if you're watching live, thank you. If you're watching later, thank you. There is a comment section, and you can include yourself in the Q&A. I hope you will if you're watching this live. If you're not watching it live, then I hope you'll write to one of us, and I'd like you to introduce you to our guest, Dr. Shay West. Please speak to our audience.
Hey, good morning. Thanks, you guys, for coming and joining us, and hopefully you guys will have a great time. We'll all have a great time getting to know each other and talking about nerdy, sciencey, geeky stuff, which is kind of what I live for. I even have my Doctor Who shirt on this morning, channeling the Doctor.
Oh, we can't see your shirt. Can you stand up a little? You'll have to. Oh, there. Okay. That was. Oh, Doctor Who! Yay!
I have about 7 of these shirts, actually, with all kinds of Doctor Who stuff.
I missed the actual text. What did the words say on there?
It says, "You never forget your first doctor."
Was he your first doctor?
Eccleston was.
Oh, okay.
So I have a soft spot for Christopher Eccleston.
And how old were you when you started watching Doctor Who? Let's hear the truth.
Like a couple years ago.
Oh, so you're a late bloomer for Doctor Who.
But I was watching Star Trek when I was a wee little lass.
Okay, you got your cred then. I have to say, I have only seen Doctor Who once, and it was when they just introduced the new one this year. That's the only episode I've ever seen. Even though I love science fiction, I just never watched that. But my son, who's 34, and all his friends, they've loved it forever, and they've watched a lot of them. So maybe it's a generational thing. I don't know. All right, so Shay, let's hear a little bit about you. Tell us what you want the audience to know about who you are and what you do.
Oh, goodness. So I am actually a biology professor, which is, I think, the most fantastic job on the planet. I guess I kind of find myself fortunate in that I found a job, I guess a career, that I totally loved, and then get to do the writing as well. I know so many writers out there are not happy with their jobs. They're just doing it to make money because they can't make the money doing the writing. But I am truly blessed that even if my books went to bestsellers and whatnot, I would still teach. I love teaching about biology. And the miraculous
tenured full-time adjunct, go to different colleges.
I'm what they call actually a full-time plus. And so what that means is I teach extra credit hours and get paid extra money.
Wow, you're special.
Mm-hmm. Well, the colleges realize it's better for them to do that than to go hire a bunch of adjunct part-time faculty that aren't good teachers.
Nice. Although some adjuncts are very good teachers, let's make sure we say that.
We are, yeah. We tend to get the ones that really, like for instance, they know their field because they are massage therapists, but they've never taught before. So they go into the classroom and they just can't seem to they're teaching way too high, and they have a hard time taking that information and bringing it down to where the students can kind of comprehend it. So I think that it's a good thing that they've got professors like me. I mean, I don't have kids, so I can teach extra classes and teach night classes, and it's really not that big of a deal. And it's extra money in my pocket, and it gives me a chance to hang out with even more students, which, I live for that. I love my students. I have some amazing students out there who are just wonderful people. They work so hard, and I'm so proud of all of them. I do. I feel like a big sister to hundreds of people, which is great.
I spent many years teaching myself, including at the college and graduate school level, so I know exactly what you mean.
You love that? I do.
Yeah, I miss it. I hope to get back into it. I'm moving in a couple weeks, and I might get back into teaching and going back to the town I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, after living lots of places before that.
There you go.
So we'll see what happens.
Hey, that was great.
Do any of your students become fans? Have you been telling them that you're a sci-fi and fantasy writer?
Yeah, actually, when we do the kind of first day of class, syllabus spiel that you do, getting him. I always tell him a little bit about myself and tell him I'm a nerd, and yes, you're going to hear Buffy the Vampire Slayer references. You're going to hear Doctor Who references. And so then I tell them I also write novels. They come to my book signings. I mean, they are super supportive. They're really, really great.
Fantastic. See, that's why I should go back into teaching. I'd get more fans and readers. I've been too isolated in the last few years. I've become kind of a hermit. So I really am glad to be moving back out into the world again. So let me ask you another question about biology, because we talked beforehand about one of my new interests and one of your favorite topics, which is specifically epigenetics in the field of genetics. So do you get into that in your classes at all, or is that just a sideline of interest for you?
No, actually, I obtained my PhD in genetics.
Right.
So I love genetics. I love the idea of such a simplistic molecule holding every detail about what makes you who you are.
So tell us,
and all of that.
Tell us, for those of us who are new to it, because we've only read a little bit or just heard the word today for the first time, what is epigenetics and why do we care?
So epigenetics is talking about something other than, so I'm hoping I can explain this. So your genes code for proteins, and it's the protein that does the job for the cell that makes it do what it needs to do. And so when the genes are messed up, the protein gets messed up, which means it cannot do the job, which then you start showing the symptoms of a disease depending on what the gene is that's messed up. The epigenetics. Yeah, exactly. So, for instance, if something screws up your insulin protein, the gene is what's messed up, but the insulin protein is what's actually screwed up from that, and then because of that, you can't regulate blood sugar, and that's what gives you symptoms.
So it's a chain reaction starting with what you called, when we were talking earlier, the on-off switch.
Right, and so that's what epigenetics is dealing with, is it's dealing with this complicated realm of, I mean, think about a light that turns on in your house. It doesn't just magically turn on and off. You have a switch that turns it on and off. And the same kind of thing happens to our genes. Something makes that gene get expressed and something shuts it off when the body doesn't need that particular protein anymore. And what they're trying to do now is shifting.
You just used a phrase that I want you to pick apart a little, because I know what you mean, but a lot of people won't. Something makes that gene get expressed. You don't mean coffee.
Right.
So what do you mean?
So when a gene is expressed, that means that you're making a protein from that particular code that genetics holds. That is what your DNA, what those genes do. The order and sequence of the nucleotides within DNA in a gene codes to make a protein.
Wow.
And it's the protein that's actually doing the job for the cell.
So what a lot of geneticists are finding, I have actually a colleague, an old friend who was the little brother of my high school boyfriend, who is the director of the Human Genome Project.
Oh.
Dr. Eric Green, okay? So he's like, world famous, brilliant guy. He was honored at my high school. We have amazing people for my high school in St. Louis, Missouri. This one high school called Ladue has like dozens and dozens of Supreme Court judges and famous celebrities of all kinds and scientists and incredible people, like the Cupcake War guy. He went to my high school, all right? So
what did you put in the water at your high school? Some kind of there was some scientist doing research on your school, I think.
The guy that invented Foursquare went to my high school. I mean, the list goes on and on, okay? So anyway, the guy who is in charge of the Human Genome Project, Dr. Eric Green, is somebody who I knew when he was 12. So it's just kind of funny to me because their father was also a PhD MD. My ex-boyfriend became a PhD MD. Their sister, who's between the two boys, became an MD, PhD. This is a brilliant family, okay? Wendy Green is the sister. Michael Green is the older brother. They're all incredible. So there are those genes expressing themselves in that family, right? In terms of intelligence and creativity and commitment and a variety of ways that they can be smart and do things. And what I was thinking as you were talking is, what I've been reading about that's so interesting is what causes genes to change. You want to talk about that? Because we used to think they were static, and now we're finding out our DNA is not static.
So now when you talk about it changing, are you talking about just in terms of...
The way it's expressed.
Right. So, see, I don't know how to talk. This is hard. Genetics is tough to bring down to a certain level.
Well, they're talking now about trauma and different experiences that are directly linked to these changes.
So, I mean, I think it depends on exactly which outcome we're dealing with. I mean, are we talking about, so things like they're, you know...
Cortisol. We're talking about cortisol, okay? The production or not production, right? That's the one everybody's talking about.
Oh, right. So as far as that goes, you know, we all know, or most people know, that cortisol is a stress hormone. And it gets expressed in response to different stresses in the body to help you overcome that stress by being able to break down sugars and fats and all kinds of stuff. But the thing is, if you have a screw up in the switch that turns that gene on, you lack the ability to deal with stress if you cannot make enough cortisol. And so
what they're finding is if people are in chronic stress, they make much for such a long time that it actually shuts off.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and it can lead to all kinds of problems. I think it can lead to, I mean, major body shutdown. It can lead to major mental issues. I mean, there's a lot of things that your body has to quickly adapt to and deal with to bring your body back to what we call homeostasis, which is balance. And if you're out of balance for too long, bad things happen.
That is excellent. Thank you for explaining that. So now I want you to put on that hat with your other hat and tell me how science is infused into your fiction writing.
One of the great things I think about being a biology professor, with my sci-fi series, I was able to create some very realistic alien life forms that evolved under extremely different conditions than what you would find here on planet Earth. So one of them...
I'm going to do a screen share while you're talking, and I'm going to go over to your Amazon author page, and I want you to tell me which books you're talking about so I can do a little Vanna White here and, you know, point to them and say, oh, look, she's talking about this or that, right? So let's see if this works.
If it'll pop up. So the
I'm trying to see if it's going to work.
Is the Portals of Destiny.
Is it working? No, it's not showing up. Let me try again. I think it showed the wrong thing and I confused it. Okay. So you want to talk about the Portals of Destiny?
So the first book in that series is called The Chosen, and it's the one that's kind of got the purpley cover with the swirly on it.
Yeah, here we go. Okay.
Yeah, there it
I'm
is.
going to make that bigger so people can see it. I can actually pick it now, and it'll be the biggest thing they see. We're on the Amazon page. Doesn't mean we're advertising Amazon.
Go Amazon.
Just that's the best place to find it. There we are. Okay, so there we are, swirly. Who made the swirlies? Tell us about your cover artist.
So my cover artist for these books, his name is Eric Malbone, and I actually found him on Facebook. When I had self-published these books prior to the publisher getting a hold of them, I needed a cover artist. My artwork leaves a lot to be desired. Let's just put it that way. And I just put up a thing on Facebook, hey, does anybody out there do fantasy sci-fi artwork just from scratch? And he got back to me and showed me his portfolio, and we've been friends ever since. So he is extremely talented.
So tell us about the science.
And I actually like this.
So you talked to him about your book.
So this particular series, so one of the races in here that I created actually evolved in the really super deep parts of the ocean. And so people who know about the hydrothermal vents here in our oceans, the scientists were quite surprised when they first discovered those, that there was that much life under the ocean. They really thought that because everything had to do with the sunlight and photosynthesis that they wouldn't find any life that deep under the ocean. And boy, did they ever have their you-know-what's handed to them when the submarines went down there and they're like, oh my goodness, we have tons of life living on these hydrothermal vents because you had creatures that utilized a different molecule. They didn't need the sunlight in order to survive. So I created a race that evolved to be sentient, just like humans, but they evolved under the water. And having gelatinous bodies because of the pressure, huge, enormous eyes to pick up what little bit of tiny light that there was under the ocean. So that was really fun for me.
So are these kind of like mer people?
Well, they're actually more like a cross between an octopus and kind of a squid, I guess.
Oh, that's so interesting, because octopus and squid, that class of animals, the cephalopods, are considered some of the most intelligent species on this planet.
And I have a soft spot for the cephalopods. I love cuttlefish, I love octopi and squids. I think they are just the most magnificent creatures.
I really have a soft spot for them too, and I talk about them and elevate them to the level of participants in my books, the Spanner series, where I have interspecies communication, and not just from people on this planet that are human with beings from other planets, but all the beings right on this planet who have intelligence are communicating well for the first time in many cases. And the cephalopods have their own occupational spot in that communication panoply, so it's really wonderful. I did a lot of research for that. I include primates, I include cetaceans, I include some of the primates that are not like gorillas, but the mammals like elephants, a lot of different ones. So I think it's really important to acknowledge the intelligence and creativity of other species, and I think science fiction and fantasy are where that first happens. What do you think?
I think so too. I think you get to take real life and then an imaginary world and combine the two together.
So tell me a little bit about your crossing genres, because that's supposed to be hard, or is supposed to be illegal, or I'm not even sure what. Oh, Nicholas Rossi, you are so mean. Did you see what he wrote?
Wait, illegal crap. I mean, am I going to have people like banging down my door here?
No, Nicholas Rossi says,
you guys.
Look what he wrote. I'm selecting what he wrote so everybody can see it, because I'm totally gonna call him out. He says they're pretty tasty too. That's like really mean. You know what though? I read a whole book about octopuses, and I did a review of it on Goodreads and Amazon, because the woman who wrote the book, whose name I won't mention, but you can look it up, at the end of the book she's eating live squid and octopus, which I thought was appalling. After researching them and discussing how intelligent they are and going through this entire book about the way she admires them, at the end she eats them. That was bad. Now, I'm not a vegetarian.
The Native American thing or something, where like if you ingest,
she was in Japan.
Part of that animal into yourself.
No, she was in Japan, and it was on the menu. I mean, it was just like normal life. But having been a writer about all that, that's just not right. I'm not a vegetarian, so I'm not being a snob. I just think in that context, that was creepy.
Right. You need to eat something else.
Yeah, I know, really. Anyway, so tell us more about not what you eat. Sorry, Nicholas, but thanks for participating. Tell us more about how you infuse your books with what you know about animals and biology.
Well, and so actually so in the time travel series, I mean, I didn't really do a heck of a lot of biology in that, the kind of young adult time travel stuff. I have a couple of short stories, though, that are kind of horror-based that are definitely based in biology. And it usually is just based on a conversation that I have either with my students or saying something in class that I kind of go, oh, that would make a really good short story. So a friend of mine and I were sitting here having wine and giggling and talking one night, and we mentioned that you can, when you die, your ashes can be made into diamonds. Not even gonna lie. They can take the carbon from your ashes and smoosh it and do whatever they need to do to make you, so your body would basically be a diamond that somebody could wear. And her and I were just talking. She's like, I don't think I could do it. I said, heck no. What if it's haunted? So
What do
I
you
wrote
mean
a
by,
story.
wait. Okay, wait, Ms. Biology Professor. What do you mean by haunted?
That the person's essence, I just thought, man, wouldn't that be creepy? Just wearing something that used to be a person, and just in my writer's mind, I kind of went, yeah, but what if it was haunted? Like, what if the person's essence was trapped within the necklace?
Well, you sound like you're really mixing your philosophies here, but I'm intrigued because in Tibetan Buddhism has both philosophies simultaneously, paradoxically. On the one hand, they recognize that the human consciousness doesn't live in anything physical, and when bodies die, they burn them or they leave them, do an air burial, and let the buzzards pull them apart. The body does not contain anything at that point in the way of consciousness, personality, soul, whatever. They don't have that belief. On the other hand, when they burn the bodies of especially high-level practitioners, they sift through the body's ashes after it's been burned, and they find what are called ringsels, which are considered to be very special treasures of enlightenment, embodiment in the ashes that the person who was the high-level meditator can produce on purpose after their body's been cremated. And then they go around with these relics and they show them, or they put them into clothing, or they grind them up and make something called jutsi, and they give it out to people to actually ingest because they believe that then you're going to be closer to enlightenment. And they take the thigh bones of very high lamas, or maybe anybody, I'm not sure, and turn them into a kind of a trumpet that we use in the rituals that we do that relate to recognizing impermanence and death. So there we are, blowing on thigh bones of actual humans that have been allowed to be created into these what are called tanglins, and they make them in such a way that there's no flesh or anything on them anymore. They don't have any scent or anything. But if you believe that they have the essence of the person in them, you might be creeped out by that. So now Nicholas Rossi's saying we're being very creepy here.
Well, so now here's where it gets really creepy, Nicholas. If you want to get into my mind and see where I go, I don't just say, gosh, maybe it's haunted. I go a step further and make it into a murder horror story where a husband gives his wife a necklace. The necklace, she keeps getting these visions of a woman and getting this overwhelming urge to run, just run, and she doesn't know why. Come to find out, her husband killed the ex-wife and had her made into a necklace, and he gave it to the new wife.
Oh, are you saying you've already done that, or were we hearing about the plot?
I already did it. I already wrote the story. It's on Wattpad. If you guys have heard it.
Tell us, okay, Wattpad. Tell us about Wattpad. I'm on that too. Tell us about that.
Amazing, you guys. If you guys have not gone on there, go on to Wattpad, because you will get a chance to read some amazing books for free. A lot of authors will put up their entire novels for, some of them will do it permanently, some of them will do it for a few months, especially right before a second book of the series is coming out, just to share their work with people and to get feedback and to give you guys an opportunity to read a book for free. And there is some gems on Wattpad. I'm not gonna lie. There is some really good stuff. So actually,
well, I've heard a lot about Wattpad as being very friendly to, or very much the venue for people who are young adult writers.
Absolutely.
So I think it's important to have that here, and I'm going to put it in our comments so people can find it.
Do you want me to go put my Wattpad profile in too?
Oh, that would be great. I just put the general URL up there so people will know what it is. I think it's important because the other one I've been using, which has a different audience to some degree, is owned by HarperCollins. It's called Autonomy. Oh, now Nicholas says he's going off to Wattpad to see what's up there. Thanks, Nicholas. Does that mean you're leaving us, or are you going to multitask? I don't know. So sure, yeah, put up your own URL for your Wattpad. I put up the first few chapters of both my books on Wattpad and Autonomy. I got my first reviews from Autonomy that way. Wow. And I have some followers on both of them, but I haven't gone back a lot. And Harper just revamped all of Autonomy, and from what I understand, that means they got rid of everything, and we have to start over, and I haven't reposted my books yet, because they just did it like in the last few weeks.
Oh my goodness. That doesn't.
But Wattpad is apparently really good to find young adult audiences and for young adult writers. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I get some wonderful, the sweetest comments and things like that on my stuff from different readers. And of course, I mean, you're always going to have the few trolls, I guess is what they call them. People that are just being mean just for the sake of being mean, just to kind of start arguments. And you just delete the comment and you don't even bother. You just don't engage, don't do anything.
Yeah, I totally agree with you about not engaging with trolls. Although, I have to say, when I've gotten some negativity from reviewers, most of them don't even read very much of my book. The ones that have given the worst comments only read a few pages or a few chapters, but some of the things they say are hilarious. And so then I take the parts that I think are really funny, and I put them right on my website. I post them on Facebook and Google+, because I'm like, hey, you want to take the time to be snarky and write about my books or me in a snarky way? I'm going to say thanks. And I put it right up there.
So I'm not sure if everybody can see on the group chat, so I'm going to actually post my Wattpad profile on the event thing as well.
Yeah, I'm putting things on both. I think that's a good idea. I don't know what people can see from group chat. Will somebody tell me if we have to post on the event page and group chat, or just group chat, or just on the Q&A? I got too many things going on here. My head's spinning. So this is my, well, one of my former acquaintances through Google Hangouts that helped me get to know how to do this, Rain, just commented that I was using the Q&A and she'd never seen anyone do it this way before. And I'm thinking, what way? I'm just doing it like I turned it on and it's working. What did I do? Did I do something wrong, Rain? You better tell me, because I have no idea. And if I'm supposed to do it differently, you better tell me. So that really isn't something I know. I don't know what you're seeing, all of you watching. Now or later, so I'm sorry, I don't understand how to see what you're seeing, but maybe I'll see it later and go, oh no, what was I thinking?
And then we'll Amber for the next one.
That's right. All right, so back to what you were talking about. Oh, here's Rain, thank you. Did you read what she said? She says, you both have a great attitude toward trollers, which I think she means when we were talking about people who make bad comments about our books or give us bad reviews.
Now, where is she commenting?
It was in the Q&A. If you go back to the left side of the screen, the Q&A is one of those buttons that's lower down. It says, I don't know, Q&A. It's a little easy. And I think if you click on that, you can see it. But if not, when I click on it, it's supposed to appear on the screen. But have you been seeing what I've been clicking on? Like Nicholas's comments or anything like that? You're not seeing that? So I guess I should just keep announcing them then, because I've been saying them out loud, mostly as he or someone else has been writing them. When you click on that, do you see ask your audience to submit questions and they will appear below?
Yep, and thus
okay, so right now there's no questions because everything people have submitted, I've responded to. And when you submit it and I respond, and then I click done, it disappears.
Okay.
So right now it's empty because no one has asked or said anything. It's not just a place for questions. You can put comments there too, guys. I think that might be better if anybody wants us to see a comment, if you do put it as a question and answer. But then I don't know how to do that as a participant. But Rain and Nicholas have figured it out, so thank you, Rain and Nicholas, for being here and for figuring that out.
Thanks.
Okay, so that was the HOA commercial. Now back to our conversation. So in your stories, you decided to post some excerpts or the whole books on Wattpad.
Mm-hmm. I have
some comments.
Oh, goodness, I have 2 full books. So the Mad Lord Lucian, which is it's being featured right now, so I'm getting a lot of hits on that one.
Oh, how did you get it featured? That's like a very big deal to get it featured, right?
Yes, and they actually contacted me. I didn't do anything. Some guy sent me an email and said, hey, I read this story and I loved it, and I really think that you need to have this featured. The only thing is I had to put the full book, well, it's a novella, so it, not that long, but he said, you put the full thing up and we'll promote it for you. So I thought that was great.
Wow, okay, so which book is being featured? I want to show people on your Amazon page.
So it's the Mad Lord Lucian. It may be down a little further. It's the black cover with the creepy ghost. That one.
Oh, the one that says orange?
No, it's...
Oh, no, I see it.
The one right on
The Mad Lord Lucian, a Portals of Destiny novella. Okay, how long is it that makes it a novella?
It's only, I think, about 60-some pages long.
Wow. So you put that up, and it's, gosh, that's like 2 chapters for me.
Right.
Oh, okay. Rain is explaining to me that, and Amelia, thank you, Amelia. Amelia says she's seeing all the previous comments, and Rain is saying, no, it's not wrong, but the Q&A app makes it so people aren't commenting in the comment stream. Instead, when they click to watch the event, a new window opens with the Q&A app open. Oh, okay. So that's how people get to type in it and ask us questions. Thank you, Rain. Thank you, Amelia. Now we have that going on.
Is there a way for like us to reply? I mean, I don't see anything where I can click to reply to anything.
We're supposed to say the answers. That's why I'm reading them out loud. When the Hangout is over, the questions and answers and comments are all going to be gone instead of staying with the Hangout. That's why most people don't use the Q&A app. All right, so if they want things to stay, then you need to type them into the event page in the postings.
Okay.
So the comments pop up. Here's CP Bialis saying the comments pop up, but Google doesn't always work. Google can be touchy at times. We're reminded of that. Thank you. Yeah, we're not in charge of Google. We know that. Google is its own thing.
Google is its own thing.
Google is the Mad Lord Lucian.
No doubt, right?
So anyway, you put up this 60-some-odd page novella on Wattpad, and it got featured. How did they know about it or want to feature it?
Well, so I got an email from someone at Wattpad, and he said he read it in its entirety, and he said he really, really liked it. And so he wanted to know if I would be willing to put the whole thing up. And he said I didn't have to do it forever. He said you can do it for, a few months and then take it back down if you want to. But he said for us to feature it, you have to put the whole novel or the whole novella up and make it available for the readers. And so I said, sure, why not? I mean, it's getting people to read my stuff, which, I mean, let's face it, I mean, I don't know. To be honest, I would love to be able to make millions of dollars off my books, but reality sets in, and it may not happen, and I'm totally fine with that, really. I really am one of those authors that my success is coming from, if people like my stuff, that puts a smile on my face. I mean, honestly.
Yeah, of course. Really, well, and you also have a day job, so
I do.
You don't have to rely on this for your revenue. That is really an important distinction between you and a lot of other writers who are trying to make a living, or at least part of a living, from their writing, and it is a big dilemma for people.
It is, and it's hard to make something noticed.
Yeah, what to price things, when to make them free, when to make them on sale, things like that.
Right.
Rain is now explaining. Thank you, Rain. You are the best. She's explaining if we don't use the Q&A, we could have a window open and type the answers as well as answer the questions on the Hangout. And then I think what she's saying from what she said before is that then those would live with the Hangout, not just orally, but they would go with it as comments in typing land. They'd be written text. Right now, as long as I read them out loud, they're part of the recording, but they're not showing up visually.
That's kind of working out nice, I think. I like it.
Well, I think if you have a lot of comments and a lot of questions, you're not going to read them all out loud, and then people are going to lose things if that's the only place they're showing. So then I can see the reason that people would maybe not use the Q&A, so I'm going to think about that. If we start to get such a big audience on changes that the comments and questions are so many that I wouldn't want to lose any and I can't answer them all orally, I'm going to have to get out of the Q&A is what it sounds like.
No, and that works. But that's good, though. I mean, it's very versatile, so we can do whatever we need to do.
Right.
Depending on what's happening.
So back to you, because you're the one who's versatile, Shay. What is it about the Mad Lord Lucian that appealed to this reader or to other readers, do you think?
I think because it's a very short, it's a short, fast, spooky, scary read. So the way I kind of classify it, it's like a fantasy ghost story that does tie into the portals of destiny, and it really shows you the dangers of what can happen by using the dark magic, which one of the chosen in the Portals of Destiny series starts delving into the dark magic. And so this story was told to him as a warning, and so a friend of mine said, hey, why don't you make, she goes, I want to know about the Mad Lord Lucian. I want to know exactly what happened to make him go completely crazy. So she got the idea rolling to make a novella out of it.
And then you got the idea to make this bone necklace that's haunted, and that's in this book?
Oh, I lost the sound.
You did? Did you click on something? Can you hear me?
No, the actual necklace that's haunted, that's just a short story that I wrote.
Oh. Okay, but can you still hear me? And I can hear you.
Yeah, that one creepy haunted necklace has nothing to do with any of my books.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so Rain is saying she thinks we're going to get a huge audience. Rain, you are my new favorite person. My birthday's coming up, and I'm going to get you a present for my birthday.
Thanks, Rain. That's so sweet.
So I'm looking at my list here. I'm going to put on my reading glasses. I'm looking at my list to see what have we talked about. All right, we talked about dark magic. We talked about a little bit about you being a writer in different genres, in your science, in your sci-fi, and a little bit about getting reviews. Do you want to talk more about how you get reviews or how reviews have been happening for you? We haven't really talked about that.
So for me, I'm so lucky that the publisher I'm with, which is Book Trope out of Seattle, I have a book manager and a project manager, Pam, that she has been the one contacting book bloggers and reviewers and giving them advanced copies of my books before they come out for sale so that they can read and review.
So you actually
and otherwise, for me,
wait,
I haven't really myself. I mean, I think.
Wait. You're getting help from somebody? Is that what you're saying? Someone's helping you?
Yes, with my publisher. So my book, yes.
That's fabulous.
Yes, my book manager, oh my goodness, she earns her percentage.
That's fantastic. I've
well,
heard some people.
Book Trope has got a very interesting. Yeah, so I mean they've got a very good team effort that goes on with their books. That the whole team works because the team gets paid only when the books sell.
Oh.
So it makes everybody much more, I guess, apt to promote for each other. So I posted a link on the event page that had my Wattpad profile. This is in response to Rain's question.
Oh, good. You can see her question?
So should I put it on the actual Hangout page instead of on the events?
Put it on the events page is what we're saying. Because then people will be able to see it, and they can click on it and go right to it if they want to. Hopefully not while you're still talking. Because I think that people really do want to follow up.
So it should be on there up toward the top.
Okay. And thank you, Rain, for mentioning that.
So mine is right above yours.
Okay, good. And Amelia also says that she likes the idea that we have the event page for people to do what she's calling chatter, and then to leave this Q&A spot for actual questions or comments related to the current Hangout conversation, the actual things we are talking about right now. And so that might be the best way to handle it. Maybe I stumbled on it by accident.
Yeah.
All right. So
that works for me.
You put up your different things, but they're not showing up quickly on my page. I hope they're showing up on other pages. For some reason, my computer has just slowed to a crawl, which it does periodically, especially when I'm doing video. It gets a little bit freaked out. I think I have to close your Amazon page. So let me share it one more time before we close it so people can see your other books and enjoy that moment. And I have put your Amazon Author Central link on the events page so people can go to that Author Central page, find you, and find all your books that way. And let's just scroll through. Why don't you just say a couple words about each one before we close it so my computer will function. So let's talk about Twisted Reflections, or that whole series about Alex Davenport. Let's talk with book one and then go on. All right, where's book one? What's it called again? Shattered Destiny? No. Oh, here it is. Dangerous Reflections. All right, so that's in the middle, Dangerous Reflections. That's number 1 of that series.
Mm-hmm.
And
so basically, Alex sees her reflection change in the mirror to someone else, and in this case, for this particular girl, she's obviously not from our time. She's from Victorian era, and of course, he's quite rightly freaked out and she thinks she's going completely cuckoo. But it turns out that she can travel in time. That she touches the mirror and her spirit inhabits the body of the girl that she sees in the mirror. And then through just kind of trial and error, she realizes that she is supposed to save the timeline. There's a really bad man going back in time trying to change things.
Okay, and is that picked up again in Twisted Reflections, book 2?
Yep, so that's book 2. Things get a little bit more dangerous for her. And then in the 3rd book, which is actually going to launch here in a couple weeks, that one's called Desperate Reflections. So that's the 3rd and final, kind of big final showdown between Alex and the bad guy.
So can you put the name of that book and the launch date in the event page at the end of our talk, or right now if you can do it, so people will know about that. And that's going to be book 3 of the Adventures of Alexis Davenport. And it's called Dangerous Reflections, Twisted Reflections, and what's the 3rd one?
Desperate?
Desperate Reflections. Okay, cool. And then we have some other books here that you've started to talk about, the Portals of Destiny series. We talked about The Chosen. And then do you have more in that series here? You have Shattered Destiny, which is book 2, and Resigned Fate, which is book 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have this novella.
Cover.
Uh-huh. And then the novella goes with that same series. The Mad Lord Lucian. Okay. And then what about Orange Karen and Horror Bloom? Those are your anthologies?
So, yes, I have stories in those anthologies.
So we have horror in Horror in Bloom, I assume.
Yeah. That one, I love that story. It freaks people out.
Okay. Is that where your crazy necklace is in Horror in Bloom?
Nope, that's a completely different story. It's more of a wicked take on Easter.
Oh, okay. And then we have your...
So when I am freaking people out, they are going to, like, avoid me like the plague. They're going to go, oh my gosh, that Shay girl is crazy.
Oh, they love crazy in this world of authors. All right, and then the bottom of your list here is Orange Karen, Tribute to a Warrior. That's your military sci-fi anthology?
No, the military sci-fi is called Battle Space. This Orange Karen one was a very special one to me. So a writer friend of mine, Karen, she ended up contracting toxic shock syndrome a couple years back, and she almost lost her life. I mean, it was touch and go there for a while. It was extremely terrifying. We all thought we were going to lose her. Well, she pulled through, bless her little heart. I mean, she's got a fighting spirit. So to help with the medical bills, which are just astronomical even at this point, a bunch of us got together and wrote that anthology with all of the stories having to center around the color orange. So we had a lot of different Karens that were part of our writer group. So to differentiate them, we gave them little names. So she was Orange Karen because of her hair.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's adorable.
Oh yeah, and she is even still years later undergoing surgeries. She lost several digits of her fingers and feet, and dealt with a lot of neuropathic pain. I mean, that poor girl has just been through hell and back with this disease. So we were trying to do whatever we could to offset medical bills. So we took the complete cost on ourselves, and every bit, 100% of that book goes to her and her family.
What a compassionate act all of you decided to do collectively. That's fantastic. Yeah. And talk about a real-life horror story. Oh, my God.
I mean, even thinking about it now and all of the emails and the text messages, because it was like, oh, you know, Karen's not feeling good. She's been sick for a while, but I think, you know, husband's making me go to the ER and blah, blah. And literally 2 hours later, her husband's on the computer saying, my wife is dying right in front of me. I mean, it was that quick.
Wow, I'm so sorry. That just sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So in collecting a group of authors to do that, were those people that you actually knew in person, or was this another sort of virtual community?
It was a virtual community that it started out as, what did it start out as? Pub right, because pub meaning beer, like we would drink virtual beers and hang out together. It was fun. So we had a hashtag on Twitter, and it wasn't to promote our books. That this was not what this was about. This was all of us just getting together, hanging out, and getting to know each other. You know, somebody's the bartender, and they pass around virtual drinks. It was great. But then other people, because we actually had that trending a lot. Well, other people jumped on board and started using it to promote stuff, so we ended up not using it anymore. So then we have a group that we now call The Lounge. And it's a private group where a bunch of us writers get together. And like I said, we don't really do a lot of writing stuff. It's a place for us to hang out with friends, really. That we get personal. It's a safe place that we can go vent about things and no one else sees it. It's wonderful. Oh yes. Oh, this is in response to Rain. She absolutely lived through it, which is a miracle. I mean, most people that get toxic shock syndrome, I want to say, what did the doctors say, 70 or 80% don't make it.
Wow.
She lived through it. I mean, but it was, I mean, she flatlined several times. Her blood pressure tanked. She lost blood flow because all the blood went to her central core. She lost the blood flow to her extremities, and that's what caused a lot of the damage. So she had to be in a hyperbaric chamber after she recovered, to try to force the oxygen back into the tips of her fingers. They had her in a medically induced coma. I mean, this was a terrifying ordeal for this poor girl.
No kidding. And what you all did for her was just incredibly generous and kind. And
I wish that we could have done more. I mean, if I would have had the money, I would have given her millions of dollars if I could have, if that would have helped.
Well, and sometimes money's not the answer, and sometimes it is, or sometimes it's part of the answer. So how great that you saw that need and you all got together and helped fill it. That's fantastic.
Oh, and I mean, you know, when I read that book, even now, I mean, there is some stories in there that will just rip your heart out, and you know, and we all cried over it, you know, because knowing what it meant that, you know, that she's alive, that she's actually here. And it's so cute. She's so adorable. The picture that's on the front of the cover is her with nice, straight, beautiful red hair. Well, because of all the treatments that she was undergoing, she lost her hair. Well, it came back in the most gorgeous Merida-style curls that you can imagine.
I can't go back on there and show it right now because I closed that page because my
no, it's fine.
Wonky, but people can look on your Amazon page and see it. And I also wanted to ask, I saw that was free for Kindle Prime members, but that it does cost 99 cents for others. Is the money still going to Karen?
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So people who want to buy that and want to help contribute, that's a really good motivation to read some good stories and support someone in need. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Rain was very happy that you shared that story, and she mentioned that in her Q&A. She thought that was a really unbelievably interesting background piece for a book that ordinarily would just maybe breeze on by, especially if you're not interested in short stories that much. So thank you, Shay, for sharing that. We're winding down now for the next. So we're in the last 10 minutes of our show. So before we go into the last 10 minutes, I just want to ask you if there's anything else you want to announce, explain, type in as a link, point people to, anything like that for the last 10 minutes.
No, I don't think so. I mean, if people are interested in my books, rather than posting up all the different links, there is a link on the event page that goes to my website, and I've got 2 different places right up front where you can see all my books, links to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, I mean, all of that, so that you can find all of that stuff. Plus, weird ramblings that a lot of times have to do with biology, and most of it is me in my own head. Like, I watch a TV program about something, about animals, and I just kind of go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad people don't do that. And then it makes me have these ideas for blog posts.
Have you read Temple Grandin's book, Animals Make Us Human?
Mm-mm.
You would love that book. I listened to it on tape about a year ago, and it was fascinating. she wrote a different chapter on each type of animal. So if you're not interested in all the animals, you can skip the chapter on pigs, for example. But they are fascinating, true stories that her experiences and research have brought her to share about all the different ways these animals operate in the world of humans and teach us about being human and being animals, and I think you would really like it. Of course, it's in print as well. Temple Grandin, as we all might know, was the very famous PhD who has made her autism work for her in her work with animals. And there's a movie about her that Claire Danes starred in about the early part of her life and all the different obstacles she encountered. So she's a fascinating, brilliant woman. It's thanks to her that we have more humane treatment and rational understanding of what animals need. And she's one of the first people to talk about the horrors of factory farming and how bad it is for cows and chickens and pigs and other animals to be confined and all the different things we do to them that are horrible. So I don't want to get into that, but Animals Make Us Human by Temple Grandin.
That's got to be a hard thing to do, to be around that.
It's been very hard for her because she has a tremendous amount of empathy for the animals and really feels their pain, and she can actually understand them in what some people might call a telepathic way. She can understand what they need and what they're thinking, and she communicates that for us on behalf of the animals. So thank her and all the people like her that are able to do that. So in this last 10 minutes, what I'm going to do in every show is I'm going to ask the same question of all my guests and let you launch into your own understanding of the current way that personal, local, regional, and global changes are occurring, what you think, what you feel, what you fear, what you wish, what you hope about yourself in each of those sectors, or any that you want to talk about. Go, Shay.
Go! Oh gosh, well this one's always a hard one, I guess, just because I am kind of the annoying person that's the eternal optimist that is, you know, I wake up with a smile on my face pretty much 99% of the time. I mean, really. The world is good, life is good, whatever. I mean, it's not that I'm not aware of what's happening in the world. I just don't internalize it to the point where it makes me afraid to leave the house or it depresses me. You know, I know a lot of people out there and hung around with a lot of people that I no longer hang around with, that every time we would get together, it was, my job sucks, this town sucks, our president sucks, the economy sucks, and the world sucks. And it was just this literal maelstrom of negativity that just was sucking me down and sucking the life out of me. And I just said, well, gosh, you guys, I mean, be thankful you have a job. You know, that's the way I look at it. It may not be a perfect job, but you're making money. And especially in Grand Junction, Colorado, if anybody out there listening to this, if you're from Grand Junction, you know people from Grand Junction, it's tough to make it here unless you're involved with the hospital or the college. There is no stable jobs. The oil field stuff comes and goes. You have a boom of oil business, and then all these jobs, and all of a sudden it's gone. And then you got all these unemployed people. The suicide rate in Grand Junction is the highest in the nation. Not even going to lie.
Wow.
So it is. It's really tough around here. But you can find something. It may not be glamorous, or you may not be making a ton of money, but if you're making enough money to survive, be thankful. You know, and really, to be honest, whoever's president of this country, my life goes on as normal. No president that I have ever lived under has my life ever been better or worse. It's the same.
Interesting.
I get to wake up in the morning, I get to get ready, I have hot running water, I get to go to work, and I get to make a living, and I pay my taxes, and that never changes. So I don't hate any of our presidents. Does that kind of make sense? Or people are like, oh my God, just because he's a Democrat or Republican or whatever. They're all the same in my book. They're all politicians.
Okay.
You know? And my life has not changed from one to the next. I'm no worse, but I'm no better. I'm still just making a living, doing my thing. I mean, globally stuff is, it is pretty terrifying. So I spend a lot of time praying. I mean, that's the only thing that I can do. I mean, I don't have money to send to people. I don't have a missionary heart like, you know, a lot of people that go to church do missions and go to other countries and spend all this time. I don't think that's where my gifts lie. I think my gifts lie in giving my students that I teach this idea that we're all in this one planet together to take care of the environment, to treat each other with respect and treat each other with kindness. That I feel like that's what I can do. And like I said, I mean, I just pray. I just pray that makes it better.
Rain wrote a thank you to you for expressing your gratitude.
Thank you. And I do. I have that. I mean, it's not difficult for me to find blessings every day. Blue sky, my kitties are good, my health is good, my family's here. I mean, the list could just go on and on. That's just how I choose to see the world in my life, even in the midst of going through pretty tough times. It's not like I never get down in the dumps or have bad days, but they don't last. It doesn't take me long to turn it around. That something, seeing a beautiful bird outside my window, a hummingbird feeding in the feeder, can bring a smile to my face. It's that simple.
Well, some people would say that that's because of your gene expression, that you aren't prone to depression or pessimism or hyperbolic negativity, that some people are permanently complaining, and you're just not one of them. So I'm glad. I'm like that.
And I don't want to make it sound like to anybody out there that is truly suffering from depression or anxiety, I swear I'm not trying to make that into a bad thing, but the people that I used to hang around with, I think they purposely tried to find the negative in everything. Does that make sense? I mean, if you really have something wrong, that is terrifying, and I can't imagine somebody that wants to be happy but lacks the ability. So I really don't want to play light with things like that.
Well, we only have about 2 minutes left, so the way I want to leave things now is look for Shay West on shay-west.com and find all her links there. Look for me on sallyember.com and find all my links there to my books from the Spanner series and my blog, and lots of other interesting things are there. You can find both of us on Wattpad under our names, and our excerpts, or sometimes in Shay's case, a full novella might be there. I'm also on autonomy.com, and you can also read my excerpts on Amazon and in Smashwords and Nook and Kobo and iBooks. And I would also like to thank everybody who is attending today and wrote comments and questions. Thank everyone who, and thank everyone who is attending later, because I won't be able to talk to you. Please send questions and comments after the fact to sallyember@yahoo.com. And Shay, do you want to give an email? Because you don't have to.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's actually DR as in doctor, so DR shaywest@gmail.com.
Great. And if anybody wants to be on my show, Changes, as you can see, it's a free-ranging, freewheeling kind of chat where I do some research about you and you can do some research about me, and we can ask each other questions and share what it's like to be writers and thinkers and philosophers and creative changer kind of people. I've invited some people and have guests. Our next guest for next week is Dr. Anna Fakorovich. I'm really excited to have her on. We have Connie Dunn at the end of the month. I'm skipping the week of August 19th because I'm traveling and moving to St. Louis that week. So there's no show on the 20th of August. And then I start up again in September and have a whole roster of guests for September. So check for that schedule on sallyember.com, and I'll be posting on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. And you can find all my links on the event page of this event. And if you have any interest or questions in how this format works or doesn't work, or like Rain, you want to thank us or invite us to change it, or like Amelia, you give us feedback, or like Nicholas, you interact. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You make the show great. Shay, would you like to say some things for the end?
I just want to say thanks to everybody who came and hung out today, commented, interacted. That was so much fun. This was my first Google Plus Hangout. I've never done anything like this before, so it was pretty awesome.
Great.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being my first guest / guinea pig. And just so everybody knows,
tell everybody how long it took us to get things going this morning.
Yeah, well, we spend about a half an hour before the show starts getting it all organized and making sure it all works. So if you're a guest, that's what you have to look forward to. Thanks, everybody. We start on time, we end on time, and changes are ending. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for playing. Good luck with your changes.